Eric. You sat in the stadium yesterday. You saw the slow start the Bills got off to. When you sit back and look at it, it's a 24-point win. What stood out to you about the way it started and the way it ended?
Yeah, you start the game with three straight 3-and-outs, and then you got Mason Rudolph coming in. He starts the game like 16 for 19 or something, just giving him too much easy access over the middle of the field. It just feels like early in games this season that this Bills offense has struggled to get in a rhythm early on, and then defensively, we gave them a pass against Arizona. You got new starters. They, and we were saying, look, this team might start slower games because of the lack of experience on the defense side of the football, especially when you added in the injuries. But it just seems week after week that they're just starting slow, especially on the defense side of the football. And I believe it was Greg Rousseau after the game that said, hey, look, we knew eventually they had to go back to what they were going to run, and that's what we really keyed in on them. Okay, well, we're really struggling against maybe those game plan specific plays, those opening scripts that, coordinators are spending all week on. Okay, so when you look at it, how can we do better against that? Maybe we flip the script a little bit, whether that's being more aggressive early on and not just giving them maybe similar looks that they've seen on film. And I don't know exactly how Sean McDermott and Bobby Babich will approach that, but I'd imagine they're going to just switch something up early in games because of the slow starts. And then offensively, you have the drop on the first possession, and we've seen that a couple times this year. Early in the Baltimore game, the Bills go 3-and-out. Kincaid drops a short third down pass. You have the Amari Cooper drop yesterday, which makes them go 3-and-out on the first possession of the game. And it seemed like as that game went on and they put the ball in Josh's hands more, it seemed like that offense got going a little bit. And so whether it's, this team wants to run the football. They got two great running backs. We've seen what that can do, and they've provided some chunks and explosives on the ground. I almost feel like maybe you put the ball in Josh's hands a little bit more often early and maybe not get to those third downs because, look, as a former O-lineman, it's not super easy running the football early in games. You wear on a defense, you wear on the defensive line, and then those more explosives will come.
Yeah, and you think about the what changed for this offense with Amari Cooper on the field. Certainly, all of a sudden, Khalil Shakir is a possession, third down kind of guy. Keon Coleman explodes with his best day as a pro. Certainly, Cooper had a couple of catches that were fantastic. The quick slant for the touchdown, of course. But the run after the catch is the one thing also about this offense that has been a little different this year. Is there a reason for that, or is it just the way the breaks have fallen?
I think part of it's play calling. I think part of it's personnel. You got guys like Shakir, like Coleman. I mean, Coleman breaks a tackle on that slant yesterday, or else that's a 7-yard gain. Instead, it's a 54. We've seen what Khalil Shakir can do after the catch this year. Curtis Samuel's always going to kind of be an after-the-catch guy, especially the way we're using him. Kincaid has shown some physicality and elusiveness after the catch. And then they've done a nice job with some stuff to James Cook and the other running backs to allow them to get up the field. So I think part of it's play calling. And then I think some of it's your personnel. You have personnel that is equipped to make more yards after the catch this season. And look, I mean, the Everybody Eats was the star of the show the first 3 weeks of the season. You drop back-to-back games, and everyone says, that's the dumbest idea ever. You need big-time players. Well, we bring in a number one receiver in Amari Cooper. 7 different guys catch the ball yesterday. You have 3 running backs that all scored a touchdown on the ground or through the air. You have production from Amari Cooper and Keon Coleman, and on one possession, Khalil Shakir catches the ball 5 times on one possession alone. And so, yes, this can be an everybody eats. I think everybody's benefiting, especially right now from Amari Cooper being out there, though.
And you think about this, too, and one of the things I notice is there seems to be a slow growth. And I think that's typified by the slow start that this team got off to and has gotten off to. They're just not familiar with what everybody's going to be doing in game-to-game basis. They haven't seen some of this before. But I think as these games wear on and get into the second and third and fourth quarter, you can see the big engine that this offense might have. And if they continue to develop, this could be as good an offense as Josh Allen's ever quarterbacked.
Oh, I agree. I mean, when you look at let's just start with the offensive line. And they took a lot of criticism against Houston and Baltimore. Well, I don't care how good of an offensive line you have, and I'm not saying part of this wasn't their fault, but when you're playing from behind multiple scores, every single O-line in the NFL is going to look bad. When they can simply pin their ears back, when they can give you goofy blitz and pressure looks over and over and over, every offensive line is going to look bad. And a lot of times it wasn't individual breakdowns. It was, confusions between, maybe who were blocking, who was responsible for what guys coming off the edges. And look, they took a lot of criticism, but I think this is one of the best offensive lines in football. And they do it on the ground. I mean, even when the offense was struggling early on in the game, Josh had all day to throw back there. Dion gets beat for his one out of, he probably gives up a sack every 1,000 snaps, one-on-one at the left tackle position. Like we'll accept that any day. And so, I believe they give up one sack yesterday, but Josh had all the time in the world to throw. So it starts with the offensive line. You have two great tight ends. You have now a receiving core that's starting to take some form, and it looks like it's going to be Cooper, Coleman, and Shakir. Okay, give me those. That stacks up against most receiving cores that they're going to throw out there. You got James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson. You got a great running back. I mean, and then of course you got one of the top two quarterbacks in football back there. I mean, this is an explosive. This offense can beat you just in so many different ways. That they got to be a nightmare to prepare for.
Yeah, and on the other side of the football, certainly the Bills got off to a slow start. They did force the Tennessee Titans. They didn't give up anything easy, but the Titans did put together a 1-5 team, where they're 1-5 now. They put together a nice 10-play drive to get their touchdown on the day. They got an opening drive field goal, and it was a really quiet stadium when the Tennessee Titans go up 10-0, and then the Bills' defense absolutely shut them down. You got a running back for the Titans like Tony Pollard, who had 64 yards in the first half and ended the game with 61 yards. They really turned it on defensively and completely shut off the Titans' ability to score points in this game. And, of course, then when the offense did find itself, it turned into a rout. But defensively, what do you think changed for this team from the first half to the second half, or really the first couple of drives that Tennessee put together and the rest of the game?
Yeah, so Brian Callahan, their head coach and play caller. So early on in the game, it was a lot of run. It was hard play action. It was rollouts. It was screens. And I'm not saying that's not real football, but they were simply, they had a big old package of game plan specific stuff. We're going to get the ball out of Mason Rudolph's hand. Okay, once we can stretch him sideline to sideline, okay, now we're going to come back and we're going to work the middle of the field. The Bills are generally a zone defense. Okay, well, let's have 3 targets at linebacker safety level, find a spot. Mason Rudolph, get the ball out of your hands. He's a 7th-year quarterback, and while his ceiling isn't super high, he can make throws. He's, he started a bunch of games in his NFL career, and so he provides some stability back there. Well, once the Bills kind of started taking away those middle-of-the-field throws, and I'm assuming it was more man-to-man defense or kind of rolling to some more single high to bring another guy down to that second level of the defense, and they took those easy throws away. Okay, well, now they're in longer down the distance situations. They can start teeing off, and then they really did a great job against the run. And, their one touchdown drive, Johnson doesn't get the personal foul. That's another field goal, and this is a 34-6 game. But that kind of stuff happens in football. I get it. But, a penalty allows one of their drives to keep going. But, we've seen some great efforts. I loved what I saw from Dwayne Carter again yesterday, that 4th and 2 stop between the player that Bernard made on 3rd down and then Carter and Rapp made on 4th. I mean, Dwayne Carter's establishing himself up there. Epinesa, has another sack fumble this week, had 2 sacks a week ago. He's really coming on. And there's a lot to be excited on that defense side of the football. And, I mean, Rasul Douglas drops a pick yesterday, but that Bills cornerback tandem with Rasul Douglas and Benford, and not just even against the pass, how they set the edges in the run game, gosh, they're impressive.
Yeah, one of the things I'm thinking about on both sides of the ball, we've seen it in multiple games, the Arizona game, certainly the Jacksonville game and the Houston and Baltimore games where the Bills get off to a slow start and then kind of kick it into gear. How much of that is because of the new faces on defense and obviously the new faces at the wide receiver position on offense, how much of that is just getting reps and getting familiarized with the offense and with each other and all the nuance and running through these plays over and over and over again so that these guys get comfortable? Certainly Keon Coleman probably won't feel as comfortable as he did at Florida State until next year when he gets to be a sophomore. And Cooper coming in off the bus this week. There's so many new players and new schemes for these guys. How much of the slow starts on offense and defense can be attributed to just not having enough experience with the guys they're playing with and in the schemes they're running?
No, I think that's an excellent point. I felt it throughout my career. I'm sure you felt the same, Steve, that the older I got, the more experience I got, the easier the start of games were, where you weren't like, you go from practice to a game and there's a dramatic uptick in speed, obviously. Well, once you've seen it enough times, you expect it, and it's generally faster for the guy that you're going against, and you feel like the game just almost slows down. And so there's a lot of youth on this team right now, which is a great thing. And we have two new coordinators. And look, the Bills have been good for a long time now. So each and every week, you got coordinators that were probably dissecting this Bills team all offseason, looking for, hey, what's my opening script going to be? Where can I expose this offense, defense, whatever it may be? Because this is such a big game on everyone's schedule. Back in 2013, I'm not sure we were that target. Well, in 2024, they are that target each and every week. And, and some of it's self-inflicted too. We talk about the drops. I'm sure you could go back to the tape and find a bunch of little individual errors where they say, look, it's one guy here, it's one guy there, it's a landmark on a block, it's a dropped pass, it's a your eyes weren't in the right spot in zone defense, someone didn't get rerouted, whatever it may be. And I have a lot of faith that Sean McDermott and his staff will do all they can to make up for that maybe natural youth situation on this team.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you about the running back room. James Cook back on the field. Ray Davis didn't look like he was going to play. He was questionable for the game. He got his calf healed up. Ty Johnson in the game. Ray Davis continues to be almost the perfect complement to what James Cook brings to the table. His physicality in the run game, and of course James Cook's ability to catch passes and his speed gives an added dimension. These running backs, for a league that throws the football a lot, the Bills seem to be able to run it more effectively whenever they want than most teams in the league. And it has a lot to do, obviously, with the offensive line and the way they're playing up front and the cohesion up there. But it also has to do with the guys, how they complement each other, and the faith that they've instilled in the coaching staff. Hey, hand it to Ray, hand it to James, and let's go.
Yeah, the fact that you can have a second-round draft pick, Pro Bowl running back from a year ago that misses a game against the Jets, a pretty stout defense, and have the day that Ray Davis had as a rookie. I mean, that's special. That says a lot about the offensive line. But look, you give him his credit too. He was falling forward. He made them look good at times. And this is a really nice rushing attack that the Bills have. And I felt like in the second half when they went to some more under center play action, just where the defense is worried about them coming downhill on them, it really opened up the pass game as well. You end the day yesterday with 74 yards rushing in the game, 3.7 per carry, but that didn't tell the full story. I mean, Josh had 3 rushes for 1 yard essentially in the game. And, look, this is a Bills rushing attack that teams are concerned about. And I love the dynamics that they have in that room. Ty Johnson's a great third down back. He catches the ball well. He's got some explosion, and they obviously trust him in pass protection. And then you have Ray Davis, your 5'9", 220-pound bowling ball. And then you have James Cook, who's about as dynamic as anybody in the league at the running back position.
One of the things about this team that seems to be really good, and we've always thought it was because of Josh Allen's ability to run the football, but down close in the red zone, the Bills have been pretty stout. They were 4 of 6 yesterday once they got going. And we've always thought that one of the reasons the Bills have been effective in the red zone is because Josh Allen's a threat to run the football in. He has not been doing that very much, although he's had a couple of quarterback sneaks. But this is a team that has been effective in the red zone. Why do you think that is? And particularly given the fact that Josh hasn't been running enough, whether it's his hand, whether it's the scheme, whether the coaches are telling him not to. Why is this team still so effective in the red zone when Josh doesn't seem to be the running threat that he has been in years past?
And look, I've always credited to Josh Allen being a factor out there as well. Whether he's running it or not, there's got to be so much attention on him on each and every play. And I even looked at that Amari Cooper play yesterday where they don't have anyone deep, and it looks like Simmons is dropping out, potential spy, maybe take away some crossing routes, but they're worried about Josh. So that plays a factor. I've thought that Joe Brady at times has created some nice mismatches down there with, man beaters. I think back to the play against Miami that on 4th and 3 that ends up being just a walk-in touchdown against man-to-man defense, and then some of it's their offensive line and their ability to just be able to say, okay, even though your safeties are shallow because you don't have to defend the deep field anymore, we can still pound the ball on you and we can run the football in. And then I believe we've had 3 touchdowns in the red zone against cover zero-ish defenses where Josh has had quick hitters against the blitz. And that's a quarterback coming into his own experience-wise, understanding, okay, I know I've got to get this ball off in enough time. I need to be on the same relationship with my receiver, understanding where he's going to be. I got to rip it. And we've seen that. So it's a combination of a number of things that allows you to win. I mean, you look at that Jets game, dominate them in the red zone. They go 1 for 4. We go 3 for 4, and we win by 3 points. A lot of times in a game, if you show me the turnover differential and the touchdown percentage in the red zone, I'll generally show you your winner.
Eric, one last thing before we let you go. What are your thoughts about going forward now? We've seen some growth on the offensive side and the defensive side. This is a team that's won some games, and we really haven't put together a full game with few exceptions in the games that they've played. There's only been maybe one. Maybe the Jacksonville game was the complete game. Maybe the Miami game you can make a case for. But, man, oh, man, it seems like they struggle to put 4 quarters together with slow starts or a tough finish like they saw in New York on Monday night. What are your thoughts about going forward with this team? As they got a little healthier for this game, and you could really tell when Taron Johnson and Taylor Rapp got back on the field last week, they made a huge difference. As this team gets healthier, if Von Miller gets back in the lineup, what is the upside for this team in the near future in these next 4 games or so?
I mean, I think you got as good of a team as there is in the league. I mean, Baltimore, they're unique in what they do. But, Baltimore's out there. They had a slow start to the season. Kansas City's sitting at 6-0, and it's hard to make sense of it how they do it each week. But, I honestly have a ton of confidence in this Bills team. I love the talent they have on this roster. I love how much youth we're playing early in the season that should pay dividends towards the end of the year, whether that's potentially staying a little bit healthier because they have less wear and tear, but also the fact that as the season goes, they gain experience, the upside is higher. So, I like this team a lot. I love the fact that you go out and stay aggressive, go nab Amari Cooper. I was asked last week if, because Bean made it known, we're potentially not done yet. It's okay. Well, where's the other holes on the roster? And it's hard to find too many, but you had good players at any position. They're going to make the team better. So it'll be interesting to see as we go towards the trade deadline if they make any moves. You go out to Seattle this week, and you got an NFC team that Josh has, dominated NFC teams throughout his career, but tough road test. I mean, I played out there in Seattle one time in my career, and it's about as loud as any place in the league based upon the stadium design and the structure. So they'll have a tough test this week.
All right, Eric. Thanks, man. It's good to see you.